John.
The Large Hadron Collider is connected to CERN. The name for that Hadron Collider, the largest one, is ALICE. ALICE was used with all of the hierarchy children in multiple rounds of experiments and projects. Um, you know, let me just kind of start with the experiments and the projects. So this was part of 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪�ъmeral and what he trained Colonel Michael Aquino to take over, is to learn to operate the spiritual gates, not just to use them themselves to get from one point to another, but literally to weaponize the spiritual gates, to, gain access militarily, strategically, all over the world. And, in the old days, we've talked about the spiritual gates operate through song. So if practitioners, occultists, if they wanted to access the spiritual gate or open it or use it, um, because it works off of light, sound, and frequency, they would have to know the song. They'd have to be able to get the gate to open up. Now, even scripture talks about this. You have King David in the Psalms who says, "Lift up your head, O you gates, that the King of glory may come in." How did he do that? Through song and praise. So the gates, the frequency that they work off of is thanksgiving, giving praise and thanking the Lord. Um, you know, and because those who are in the system, they don't have that relationship with God. They're not going to enter into praise and worship to get that gate to open up its head, to lift up its gate face. So how are they going to do that? The next thing that's closest to Thanksgiving is ecstasy. So that's why they get into the sexual magic. Now, with that, you're going to have a component of multiple individuals who, are engaging in song, dance, other type of things. Like that's the old way, is that, if the witches wanted to gather to open the gate, they're going to have to come, sing, dance, get the song, the vibrations right. Now think about that. If, the enemy's agenda is to basically get all of his demonic hosts connected to humans through the gates and into heaven and usurp the throne of God. How is he going to do that? If he went the old way, they literally would have to time so perfectly all around the world to get all the gates open at one time, right? It's too hard to coordinate. So Alice became that interface, a way that they could electronically or through AI sync all of the spiritual gates, and it's pretty much just like a light switch. When it's turned on, they have the ability to open all the gates at one time or to close all the gates at one time. Yet the Lord in 2018 removed that authority from them, because in 2018, here's what happened. I'll get more into the experiments a little bit, but let me just share what happened with all of that. Um, as I got out, I constantly was bombarded with the system to take my position. And, you know, I mean, I did everything. It's like, Lord, I have rejected, I have renounced, I have rebuked, I have, been like, I'm not going to take it. What else do I do? And how do I be rid of this separate from the system? And in 2018, the Lord said to me, take your position. And I was like, "What? You gotta be crazy." But what the Lord said to me after that was he gave a verse until, out of Hebrews where it says, until all his enemies are laid as a footstool at his feet. And I knew then, that the Lord wanted me to take that and literally lay the entire system, all the authorities, all the contracts, all the permissions that I had been given for end time things, lay all that at the Lord's feet. So when that happened, there was an earthquake at Cern, and the Hadron Collider Alice broke, and they have not been able to get her back up.
All right, if you enjoyed that clip, you can check out the full podcast by clicking right here. And if you want exclusive content, join our newsletter, become a badass member, thewayofwilljohn.com. The link is right down below.